Welcome everyone, both attending in real time and watching the video after the fact. This is breakout session 2, the nonprofit panel. My name is Ben Rhodes. I'll be the moderator of this session. For all the participants attending in real time, cameras and microphones are sort of disabled by default. Darren, if you would like people to change that, we can do so. For the time being, that's the situation. Folks who are attending, if you have a question, you use your Q&A feature or type it in chat and I'll pick it up and pass it on to Darren at the end. So I'll be monitoring that over the course of the presentation. And now, this is Darren Lamkin with Class Matters. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you so much. Again, my name is Darren Lamkin. I come from a single parent household, first generation student. I love creativity. Specifically, I used to write creatively poetry, and I found my tenacity when I wrestled and I boxed. And then over time, I gained a passion for math and science. And now I work as an engineer for the Boeing company as a system engineer. My background for undergrad is mechanical engineering technology. My master's degree is industrial engineering and management, and also entrepreneurship. Currently, I'm pursuing a PhD for EdTech and emphasizing engineering education. So how I came about the nonprofit Class Matters is I was in this program called Oklahoma Lewis Stokes for minority participation, and that turned me inside out, and I learned things about myself that I never knew, and it gave me experience with research, professional development, and also it paid for my degrees and also my first consulting opportunity in South Africa, where I learned small business administration, and then I learned, again, research from a practical perspective. And so this organization really exposed me to so many opportunities that I didn't think were available to people like me in my background. And so in that change, I got involved with this organization called the National Society of Black Engineers, and they have what's called the NSBE Junior chapter. And I oversaw those things and those interactions with those students. And I used to do STEM-based activities, science, technology, engineering, and math activities to help inspire future generations. And I was like, wow, what if I could start an organization and work with students in this background to help them learn more about engineering? Because the issue is, you know what a doctor looks like, a nurse looks like, because they have scrubs, but you don't know what an engineer looks like. And so helping them figure out that an engineer looks like you know, whoever you are. So then I get an opportunity through OKLSM to speak at the TRIO program. And TRIO targets low-income first generation and students with disabilities, specifically people like me, and give them pre-college, pre-career exposure to help them get inspired to think more of themselves and pursue their aspiration in spite of their environment, in spite of what people tell them about themselves. And so this program was the spark that said, hey, let's do something more. So fast forward 2010, August, Class Matters is born. I host my first event in the summer. And as you can see, it was kind of self-centered, really egotistical. And in fact, the publication has the wrong spelling of the address. And so I have 0 attendance. And then but I had all the presenters, all the food, all this thing there was prepared, but didn't have anything to talk to are people in attendance. And so what I did was took that as a lesson learned and kept going, because those people that were there continued to come back to support future events. And so if you have the right team around you, they won't let you give up on what they feel you can do. And so I'm grateful, because then that failure led to me learning that, okay, it's not the principals and the vice principals, it's the secretaries that keeps and the teachers that keep things moving and can get students into your programs. So started Class Matters doing competitions. So I participated in US First Robotics, First Tech Challenge, and then 1080 Education. And I realized that the target audience that I wanted to serve needed to have a better connection, needed to be able to make a better connection to STEM. And so what I had to do was shift from public competition to more internal community-based competition, because it will turn into a fear factor. In fact, one competition, we had this little small, in the picture in the top left, we had that one, and we were in dead last, and then all of a sudden we peaked, and then one round we were in first, and the students noticed that, and then all of a sudden they're like, we don't belong here, we shouldn't be in first, and then we go from first to last, because they start making modification. And then as an instructor, I don't talk to them too after, because I want them to get their own lessons learned. And then from them, I said, in Class Matters, I need to put some character and some identity into that to help them find confidence in themselves, regardless of how fancy something looks or materials that they feel is lacking. And so stop doing those competitions and started a master's degree in entrepreneurship. So in the completion of that master's degree, the requirement was to write a business plan and do an elevator pitch and acquire customers. So since 2010, I have been operating as just a hobby, not really truly a business, but just a hobby. So it made me learn about business practices and how to get to another level outside of my comfort zone. And that was the start of the vision, and then the start of a new era for Class Matters. So 2015 happens, because then I try to put sports to reach more students. And so what happened was, during open gym, there were some people that came to play basketball that wasn't of age, that were with some other people, and then a fight broke out, and then the individuals had guns in their backpack, and then they started shooting. And so from that lesson, I realized that I don't need to include sports into my curriculum. What I need to do is just be more engaging and stop trying to get the quantity and focus more on the quality and the students that actually want to be there versus the ones that's there just to play basketball. So that was my lesson from that experience. So after that, the partnerships came about, and had partnership with PBS, OETA, and then Facebook, Verizon, all these different partnerships. Well, what I didn't know is that whatever you create for them is theirs. It belongs to them. It's no longer yours. And the big name is who gets the recognition. Although I'm gonna do things for recognition, there's no originality. You know, it's one of those things, you do not matter to the point where you're so small that you also invisible. So although it was great opportunities, it was great funding, because I was able to do so much, and I also was able to employ the students, my student leaders in the program. I lost my identity, as an organization. And so how that played out was what I thought initially was that I can write about what I was doing, and get my own credit. Well, then they said, well, that's self plagiarism. And so I got penalized for actually talking about what I've been doing with these companies, and that made me very insecure and made me feel like I did not belong, and it really just made me take a step back and self-reflect and get out of that dark space. And so writing has never been my strong suit. So what I did was I said, you know what, I'm going to pursue a PhD that requires me to learn more about education and requires me to write. So I understand STEM, I understand engineering, the technical piece, but I need to understand the educational piece if I want to reach more students. So started a PhD, and I learned about project-based learning and problem-based learning and theories. And so I used the possible self theory in my curriculum, and I tried to help students understand that there's a process. And so the process that we use to create is an engineering design process. And so the things we do with the students is we teach coding, um, and then we teach project-based learning that uses household items and recyclables to build things. So water bottle flashlights, water bottle airplanes, water bottle lemonade dispensers, and you just have them think outside the box, literally. So it's STEM in the box. And so the next thing we're doing is a mobile STEM to where we drive around and promote STEM using project-based learning and creativity. And so it talks about aviation, engineering, and then we utilize snap circuits and electronics circuit scribes to help make the connection of engineering. And so this is where the vision was truly defined and realized. And so although it took me years, I'm more confident in what we're doing and how we're representing ourselves in the community. And such that it led to collaboration, which is totally different from partnership from my experience. Collaboration is when you work with people that has the same vision and mission as yours, the same target audience, and you guys complement each other with an E and an I. And so I'll collaborate with the Guarantee 4.0 learning system, which teaches strategies and strategies to help students be successful in STEM careers, in STEM college aspirations. And then the Urban League, they have the target students that I want to work with. And so I work with the Urban League. And then community events it allows my students to come train their middle schools. So I have high schoolers that I train, and then they train middle and elementary schools. It's vertical mentorship and peer-to-peer mentorship. And so then I work with some HBCUs and some community college that have K through 12 centers who target the community I'm trying to serve. And then I have annual events with companies like Verizon that also try to engage under-researched, underprivileged, and at-risk communities. And so from that, you learn kind of where you are, where you need to be, and you learn that you can't be everything to everyone, but you got to be something to someone. And so class matters is class from a sense of how you carry yourself, and class from a sense of academic excellence. So you can have many dreams, but if you don't have people to believe in you and have a support team, then you're just a lone wolf. Fortunately, I'm not a lone wolf. I have student leaders, and at the top left is the president and the vice president, and then there's the board chair and the board vice president that train and mentor them, and because it's all student led. And then the top right, that is from left to right. That's the individual that provides the foods and the snacks to every event. And then the guy to the left, he works for the OETA PBS, and he provides the free curriculum for when we work with the elementary students. And then the lady in the blue dress, she's just a huge advocate that finds resources to help us keep going. And then same thing with the other ladies. And then the other two guys, they allow us to use the community centers for free. And the bottom left, it's most of the student leaders that help me run this thing and reach other communities and train other school districts about engineering education and aviation. And so the bottom right, these are people that just provide funding, sponsorship, and then videography, photography, and anything else needed to keep this thing going. And so you can't do it alone, and you shouldn't do it alone. And there's more power in community, and that is what Class Matters is, community-based organization. So I would have the students, participants, and anyone who participated in our annual banquet, at the end, we read this Class Matters oath. And I'm going to read it. It goes like this. I promise myself to be so strong that nothing can disturb my peace of mind, to be the light to the world that drives out darkness, to be useful, not used, to make changes, not excuses, to dream, believe, lead, and excel, not give up, to think only of the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best, to have self-esteem, not self-pity, to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future, to give so much time to the improvement of myself that I have no time to criticize others, to think well of myself and to proclaim this fact to the world, not in loud words, but in great deeds, with love and integrity, to choose my inner voice of positivity, not the random negative voices of others, to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble, to practice the pause. When in doubt, pause. When angry, pause. When tired, pause. When stressed, pause. And when I pause, I will reflect that I am the future because class matters. I promise myself. So that is the oath that they read at the end of each meeting. And so that when they leave, they still know who they are and they're reminded by this oath. In conclusion, I've failed over and over, and that is why I feel I'm succeeding. That's a quote from Michael Jordan. And I also learned that on the other side of failure is success. And that is what I'm pressing on and to believe is that no matter how many times I fail, I'm learning what works and what doesn't work. So I've learned that through the partnerships that I'm not called to serve parents. I've learned that I'm not called for the elementary kids, although there's a lot of opportunities at the K through 5 level, specifically K through third grade. That is not for me. I love high school. I love transitional. I love intervention and helping them transition from high school to college or high school to career, high school to job placement, things of that nature. Because the studies pretty much show that high school is too late. And I'm living proof that if you don't give up, they will change not only what they feel they know, but what they believe about themselves if you don't give up on them and encourage them not to give on themselves. So I've been doing this since 2010, served over 400 people. And what's interesting is that in full circle, I'm about to have 5 come work for me at the Boeing company as computer science, electrical engineer, industrial engineer, system engineer. And it's humbling to see it all come to fruition. And so now I say these things. Live each moment to the fullest, for a moment too soon becomes a memory. Don't count the steps ahead. Just add up the total of steps already covered and multiply it by faith, confidence, and endurance. Don't be afraid of taking a dream and doing anything, risking everything, and stopping at nothing to make it a reality. This is what I tell myself, and this is where we have questions, and then I have them say the self-pledge and go back to questions. So the self-pledge is just a reminder for whomever, is an affirmation that I say to myself, is that when no one else is with me and no one seems to care, I will say to myself, I am the controller of my destiny. It's up to me what comes to pass. And if I keep my thoughts positive and strong, my dreams will come true. All right, that is my time. Any questions?
Great, thank you very much. I don't see anything in the chat as of right now, but if participants have questions, I encourage them to go ahead and post them in chat. It looks like a small group, so if folks want to unmute themselves, if they're able to do that, I think that would be just fine as well.
Okay, do you have any questions?
I do, yes. I have several. You know, that's a heck of a story. Sort of a lot to take in. I guess the basic overarching question that I had throughout that was, you know, you have a lot going on. You know, you've got your work with Class Matters, you got your work as an engineer, you got your studies, and you've got your personal life. So how do you balance all that? And do you keep it separate? Is it all sort of mixed together? How do you do it?
Oh man, you write down what's important. Write the vision, make it plain, and have a stopping point. Have a schedule. Have time management skills. And so when I'm at work, I'm at work. And when I leave work, I leave work. I don't do overtime. I don't stay extra. No. So what I don't get done that day, I get done the next day. And so initially, I put pressure on myself. Then that pressure turned to anxiety. Anxiety turned into depression. And then it went into a dark space. I don't recommend depression on anybody. It's like you want to do things, but you're stuck. And so the best thing to do is say, hey, do what you can and let God do what you cannot. And so whatever you believe in, don't stop believing in yourself. Because at work, if you died, for example, they'll replace you immediately and then you're gone. So you gotta have love for yourself and self-care for yourself. And so making yourself a priority is the best thing to do. So when I'm doing work, I'm doing work. When I'm doing schoolwork, I'm doing schoolwork. When I'm doing Class Matters, everything has a start and end time. And you just plan it. That's what it is. Work your plan, plan your work. That's it. That's the only way I can put it. Yeah.
That's great. That's, yeah, wise words for sure. So going through that, I mean, you had so many roadblocks and challenges on your journey, and it was really impressive and inspiring to see how you, like, each time you overcame one of those, you built your work bigger and stronger and better. So your work has really evolved since day one with Class Matters. So how do you see it changing and evolving over the next 5-10 years?
Uh, Honestly, I am the. I want to figure out how to continue to do it throughout the year where I can pay the students, because I'm only able to raise enough money to pay them over the summer. However, I've learned that when they have a job, they get in less trouble, their grades increase, and they're more involved, they're more active. And I want to figure out how to have a student-run organization where I'm actually paying them. So right now there isn't any employees, all volunteer-based, all student-led based. So I actually want to figure out how to make it into an institute, a STEM institute, where I'm actually having training centers, and I want the students to train elderly, and I want to continue to train the younger students. And so it's all full circle because all of our service projects impact what I call the forgotten people. So either the homeless or elderly. And so we teach the elderly how to utilize their technology, their phones, their tablets, and things of that nature. And then with homeless, we provide Christmas meals and also Thanksgiving meals. And that's what we do. We just love on them and do activities with them.
And you said the students' grades increase when they're actively doing this work. Do you have any theories on why that is?
Yes. So self-efficacy is when, to me, when they're able to see the why and tie it to mattering and tie it to purpose. When they feel like they're doing something and contributing, it makes a mental shift. Like, I'm just not another person just doing anything. I have a role to play. And if I don't fulfill this role, then something doesn't get done. And so it's the ownership piece. And so now, although they're not paid, they all have a title now and all have a position. So although there's no payment involved, it's still the same mental shift. So I guess to answer your question, the identity piece, it's I have a title and I need to fulfill that title.
Great, thank you. I'm going to pause for just a moment. I do have more questions, but I'm going to put in a little pause here in case anyone else wants to chime in.
Okay.
All right, I guess it's back to me then.
Yeah.
So my work in the past has been very partnership oriented, and I was really intrigued to hear you sort of spin that into collaboration, not partnership. And
Mhm.
you went into some detail on that, but I'm wondering, of course, you had some initial partnerships that didn't work out great, and then you moved to
Mhm.
collaboration, and you talked a lot about how that works. But I'm wondering, how did you make that jump from partnership over to collaboration? What was the inspiration behind that?
Oh, so partnership to is a box that they put you in, and it says, "Hey, I want you to do this, and I need you to do this because I'm paying you to do this so that I can look a certain way to certain people." And then, at some cases, it becomes like a photo shoot to where you're just showing up and doing nothing. And sometimes you don't really feel like you're doing anything. Can't really make a difference. And so when I stopped recognizing who I was and what I was trying to do, that's when I said, okay, let's pause this. Is it money over matter or is it matter over money? So I chose the mattering and I left that contract and start focusing on collaboration. Collaboration says that, hey, be you. And if that you evolves, evolve. And long as you can document the changes and then have change management, you can still be you and we still accept you. So that's the thing about collaboration is that you're not forced to fit in this box. You're allowed to be creative. You're allowed to be fluid and still grow with the times.
I like it. Thank you.
Mhm.
We did have a comment come in the chat, just not a question, but just saying that they're enjoying seeing the presentation. They've gotten a lot out of it. They're just not able to unmute and chime in right now.
Okay. Well, if you don't have any more, we can end the call and so you can go and save other people.
I've got one more thing for you,
Okay.
just for an ending note here.
Okay.
What's your favorite thing about working at Class Matters?
Oh man, seeing them make the mental shift of drug dealer, rapper, athlete to entrepreneur to student athlete to graduate. That is the greatest feeling because it's not forced, it's organic. It's you can do what you believe you can do. And now that you know you can do, they changing their behavior, the way they talk, their confidence, seeing them come out of that shell is just the greatest feeling in the world. And so when I first get the students, I have them challenge themselves to write down all the labels that they had. And so some people put stupid, ignorant, and uh, one guy said put one not white enough, not black enough. It was just things that I never thought about, and it's like not straight enough, and it's like so many different things of not enough. So it's like encouraging them that no matter if someone doesn't think you're adequate, just make sure you don't believe that you're inadequate because you're positive. You are a being that exhibits light. You can't let people dim your light because they don't see value in you, as long as you see value in yourself. And so the greatest thing is helping them find their self-worth, their value, their truth, and then their possible future self, because your current self can mess it up for the future you. So that's what it's all about. It's helping them transition from the now to the later, because they are the future and the future is now.
Well, I can't think of better words to end on than those. So thank you very much for taking the time today, Mr. Lamkin. It's been a really great, inspiring presentation.
Okay. All right, man. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Absolutely.